Doom is one of the daddies of the first-person shooter genre, building on its prior success with Wolfenstein, and has remained the standard bearer of the genre. I also have thoughts, and what better way to hash out those thoughts than with a ranking video. This should go without saying, but this list is purely subjective. My own enjoyment is the chief factor here, but I'll also be drawing comparisons with what games came before and what was coming out around that same time. And also, while I did enjoy every single game on this list to some extent, something had to be at the bottom of the list, and that game is Doom 3. This game was a massive departure for the franchise and was ultimately a botched transition. Let's make one thing clear. This game is not at the bottom of the list because it's too different from Doom. It's at the bottom of this list because it tries so hard to sit at the same table as Halo, Half-Life, and Metroid Prime, and it just isn't as good as those games. If it was, nowhere near as many people would complain about it. Everything regarding the production quality of this game is top-notch. The game looks, sounds, and feels incredible and foreboding. It's the little things that drag this game down. It gets pretty repetitive with its enemy encounters, there's no subtitle option, which is just inexcusable for a game released in 2004, and even more inexcusable for the BFG edition that came out in 2010. And it relies a little too heavily on jump scares and spawning enemies right behind you. It's still a good game overall, at least the BFG edition is. It just has too many missteps to call great. Missteps might as well be the real title for our next entry. Number 5 is Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal is a unique experience that pushes the boundaries in some cool ways and some ways that were better left unpushed. It tried to fix a lot of what wasn't broken in Doom 2016, and the result is the only Doom game I was actually disappointed in. Doom, and most shooters for that matter, specialize the weapon so that you have a weapon for every situation. Then it builds situations for each one of those weapons. In Doom Eternal, every situation calls for every weapon. As a result, every single weapon loses a lot of what makes it special. The way the game handles auto-switching also blows. Any game where you can accidentally fire the BFG is inherently more flawed than any other Doom game. It also tries to incorporate first-person platforming, which just never works. A lot of people complain about the Marauders, but I personally had no issue dealing with them. There is a wide gap between having fun with a game and getting through a game. There are games that I love to death that I will never beat, and there are games that I despise that I kick all of the ass in. So as someone who had no issue whatsoever with the Marauders, let me tell you that they fucking suck, and were a bad idea. Because the strategy inevitably shifts to ignoring them while you clear out the more aggressive enemies, and then kick the Marauder's ass once you can give him your undivided attention. And that's all my problems with Doom Eternal in a nutshell. By throwing every enemy at you in every encounter and keeping all your ammo limited and forcing you to use everything all the time, it ends up forcing you to disengage with the combat entirely at regular intervals so you can chase down an enemy to chainsaw. So then why is this above Doom 3? Well, it's really that uniqueness factor. This is the most chaotic Doom has ever been, and there's really no game I can compare it to other than Doom 2016. Whereas Doom 3 was emulating a subgenre of shooters I am far more experienced with, and so I am able to pick up on its every shortcoming. Doom 3 is a bunch of great ideas done with mediocre results, whereas Doom Eternal is a bunch of bad ideas done about as well as they ever could be. Moving on is the other Doom 2. This game got criticized a lot for being a glorified expansion pack for the first game, and I can kinda see why. But I think it introduces enough new enemies with enough levels that are sprawling and labyrinthine enough to warrant whatever price they were asking back then. And that's what separates this and all the following games from the bottom two on the list. For all their bells and whistles, Doom 3 and Eternal have pretty narrow linear pathways. I'd occasionally get turned around in Doom 3 because it lacked a basic map, and I'd occasionally have to think my way through a traversal puzzle in Doom Eternal, but that pales in comparison to the bona fide mazes that the other games are boasting, and Doom 2 might very well have the deadliest mazes. Whereas our next entry on this list, Doom 64, has the most labyrinthine of the mazes. This is the one I was the most hesitant about and was the biggest surprise of them all. This game kicks all of the ass and is one of the best N64 games out there. Though I probably only feel that way because I'm playing it on Steam, and so I don't have to worry about the N64 controller. This might be a hot take, but I think the guns feel way more powerful in this game than any other game. And that makes me feel more powerful. If I had a complaint that didn't have to do with its nail-biting difficulty, it would be the lack of narrative. You fire up the game and you're dropped into a demon invasion with nothing to go on except your own instincts. So I can't really recommend it to anyone who is unfamiliar with Doom. Speaking of which, my recommendation for anyone's first Doom is the first Doom. It's perfect in every single way. It's just a pure, flawless experience that was groundbreaking for its time and still functions today, so long as you play whatever version is on Steam now. Unlike Doom 64, they do give you a little bit of context for each one of your actions and a little map showing you where each level is. There is just something so pure and primal about Doom. There's no bells and whistles, no pomp and circumstance, no cinematic wankery. There's just you, a marine, finding guns and blasting demons while you run around at the land speed record listening to metal music. But you know what? Maybe I like my bells and whistles. Maybe I like my pomp and circumstance. Maybe I like my cinematic wankery. And that's why Doom 2016 is the best Doom. It's all the adrenaline-pumping, chaotic action of classic Doom, with the best modern touches it could provide without compromising the fast-paced nature of Doom. No reloading like in Doom 3, no running around looking for an enemy weak enough to chainsaw like in Doom Eternal, no running around mashing buttons until progress happens like the first 3 Doom games. The levels are labyrinthine, but unlike the older games, the UAC facility and Demon Caverns of Hell feel like real places. It's just guns and action and kick-ass music with just enough narrative to keep tugging you along. Does it have flaws? Sure. But overall, it's just a perfect version of what it sets out to do. It's completely uncompromising in its vision and also just manages to work in a way that no other shooter of the past 10 years has. So how would you rank the Doom games? Let me know in the comments below. I'm Mediocrity4, thanks for watching.